AI security is quickly becoming a must-have conversation for MSPs. The question is, who leads it? Today, we're looking at how Pax8 is helping partners step into that role by moving from reacting to AI risk to confidently guiding their customers. Joining me to break that down are Matt Lee and Eric Stevens from Pax8. Now, Matt, let's start with what partners are running into right now. When it comes to AI security and compliance, what are MSPs and their customers seeing most today? And where are you seeing the biggest challenges show up first?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the challenge is AI speaks to data and really the management of data, classification, all the things that MSPs have not had the best relationship with their clients and clients haven't really done in a great fashion. And so I think the beginning challenges are actually having to do some kind of data governance and get that in place before even moving forward with AI, let alone starting to talk about connecting interconnected systems and business-dependent and important systems. And when you ask about compliance and governance in those realms, it's kind of uncharted territory, isn't it? I mean, if you look at most protocols or standards or frameworks, they're a year or two behind. And so there isn't much reference to this. And you're having to make these extrapolated kind of decisions of how I even start dealing with what the risk even is, if you really will. So getting started is what I'd say, Sydney, is there's just a gap in knowing how to or where to get started in MSPs with AI.
Eric, we hear a lot about the risk around AI, but we're also starting to hear about the opportunity. How is AI security evolving beyond a risk conversation and becoming an area where partners can really differentiate and lead?
So there's a lot of things that users will get wrong by default. When you first start experimenting with agentic workflows, the big trap that we see is treating agents like features instead of new high-privileged identities. In a lot of pilots, the agent gets a fat API key with broad access across Microsoft 365, RMM, PSA, and line of business apps. And nobody's tracking which tenant data that agent is touching. From a managed intelligence mindset, that's the new insider risk. You're one bad prompt away from an autonomous user that can change policy, move data, and move money at machine speed. The shift we push for is simple but powerful. Treat every agent as a managed non-human identity in your stack, with least privilege, time-bound access, and action-level approvals for anything dangerous. Wrap that with inventory, ownership, and logging so you can answer 3 questions for every client. Which agents do we have? What can they do? And who are they acting on behalf of?
As AI becomes more embedded in everyday business workflows, customers are asking more questions, especially around data use, governance, and responsible AI. How are those expectations changing what MSPs are responsible for when it comes to security and trust?
We've always wanted as MSPs a seat at the table, Sydney, right? The ability to be in the business. Well, I think when you start thinking about AI, and you just said it, they're being forced to be deeper in the business processes. They're having to manage these things and work through where do they implement AI? What are the risks? What are the concerns of these things? They're getting a seat at the table. They're getting way deeper in the business. And I think MSPs are going to change in how deep they are in helping educate on these risk-based decisions and how they help make sure that at the end of the day, the business either reduces risk, right, is able to grow and gain more from their own perspective, right, and become more efficient. And so I think you're going to see the use of, to Eric's point, with non-human identities as new hires, quote unquote, that are being brought in, that the MSPs are actually now sourcing these resources, creating and becoming that managed intelligence provider, which changes a lot of things. Now I'm bringing in a fleet of agents to do things and make you profitable when your competitor is not winning. And that's a very awesome place to be, but it also comes with a lot of uncharted territory and new ways we're going to put in controls and how we're going to protect this access and data. How do you govern a non-human identity that doesn't have the same social constraints or doesn't care about being fired? Those things aren't built in like they are for us humans. There are just going to be a lot of new challenges to solve at a time when a lot of the things we used to do are becoming quite commoditized. So I actually believe this is the biggest opportunity to really get real security where it matters, from quote to cash and all the operations in between. I don't think MSPs have been in a better place from being invited to have the answers, in my opinion.
This is still a newer space for many partners, and it's evolving quickly. How is Pax8 helping MSPs make AI security practical and scalable so they can confidently lead these conversations with customers instead of just reacting to them?
Well, the first thing that we would advise at Pax8 is to go and find our Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook. This is the result of a substantial amount of research that Pax8 put together to help partners discover their journey to the Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook. In addition, Pax8 has several whole departments that are dedicated to the purpose of understanding the Managed Intelligence Provider journey and understanding where the friction points along that path exist. We have a lot of training and education, we have a lot of academy resources, and we have many other resources available for your disposal. So what we would recommend is to look for the shadow AI that exists in your business. Find the best shadow experiments that your users have already built, harden them, and turn them into supported workflows and agents that you can roll out across the business. That's how you turn shadow AI from a liability into a pipeline of high-value intelligence-led services instead of slowing your clients down.
AI security is something partners do not have to navigate alone. Matt and Eric, thank you so much for joining me. To learn more about how Pax8 is helping partners take the lead, just scan the QR code right there on your screen. For the Channel Company, I'm Sydney Neely.